the board of Youth Fund, I can attest that the UDA party has the interest of young people at heart. You can see Doris Cherotich, my fellow panelist from TUK, is also a comrade. Maliba is also a comrade. And we have so many comrades in UDA party in appointive positions, in elective positions. So, comrades, take advantage of this information so that you can empower yourselves and also be meaningfully involved in policy-making processes. I'll be talking about inclusion in policy-making processes and particularly in matters financing, financial inclusion. The Kenya Kwanza government is very heavy on financial inclusion for youth, women, and persons with disability. And there are affirmative action programs that the government has come up with to support young people to be economically empowered. We have Uwezo Fund, we have NGAV, we have Hustler Fund, and we have Youth Enterprise Development Fund or Youth Fund, which I am here to talk about. Youth Fund is the fund designed specifically for young people to empower young people through enterprise development. We are here to put money in the pockets of comrades. UDA! UDA! Kazi ni kazi. Sisi kama Youth Fund tunaweka pesa mfukoni kwa mifuko ya vijana. And I will be telling you how you can access this money to empower yourself while you are still in the university. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Faith Nora. Please clap for her. Unajua, you guys mmepata city juzi. So kuna vile hamshtuki mkiona watu wametoka Nairobi. Mtupigie tu makofi tafadhali. Hata kama mko na city mpya, najua yenu ni mpya. Hey, Comrades power. Viva Comrades, viva. Comrades transact. Nyinyi hamjui hiyo? Sawa. Anyway, quickly, I'd love Professor Machuki. Professor, habari ya leo?
Nzuri sana. How are you?
I'd love you to start where it really matters here. That is the new funding model. I just want you in 2 minutes to explain why was it necessary for us to change and explain a little bit of it, because kuna propaganda mingi sana, majitu story na hizo vitu zingine. So take just 2-3 minutes to just tell us why we changed and how it looks like and where we are going. I know part of it is in court, but that doesn't stop you from talking about the policy end to it.
Thank you very much, moderator. Comrades power. Comrades power. There is quietness there. Or you are TikToking. Is it TikToking? Comrades power. Comrades rear. Comrades transact. Thank you. It will be confirmed. Thank you very much. The leadership of the UDA party, represented by the Secretary General, and herein having the National Treasurer, Honorable Japhet Nyakundi, and all the protocols observed, our chief guests, the comrades. I'm happy that this session is here not only to advance the comradeship in the UDA, but also to mentor the young people so that the strategic intent of His Excellency the President is realized. He talks about the next generation, and this is a deliberate effort to build leadership for the next generation. Quickly, going into the new funding model, it is one of those policy conversations that have gone on, and we continue to engage. And I want to point out that the government of Kenya is obligated to provide public good. And one of those public goods is education, both from the basic education, tertiary, and higher education, that is at university. It is also a fact that for a long time, had attempts toward funding universities in Kenya. And as we sit here, early 90s, there were very few universities, and currently, public universities, together with the private ones, have increased in number. And the government is largely concerned with funding students who are admitted to undertake regular programs in public universities, but through a legal change, the amendment of the University Act 2016 provided that government also funds students in private universities. The new funding model came on board because of the issues that were raised in the previous funding model, otherwise called the differentiated unit cost. It has always been an argument that it takes a cost for a student to pursue a particular program in the university. The differentiated unit cost was framed in such a way that a number of factors will be considered to arrive at a cost of a program. But what happened is that those factors will be aggregated in a manner that will arrive at an average cost and not the exact cost of offering the program. And even with that average cost, it was clear that government was to fund 80% and household was to fund 20% of the differentiated unit cost. Ever since it was initiated, it happened that government was not able to meet its 80% of the differentiated unit cost, and that way, the framework that was used, which was a capitation framework, where every university will have an account, or let's say a vote with the treasury, and the money will go to the universities and not to the students. So the new funding model came on board, one, to be very realistic with regard to the cost, the exact cost of running a particular program. So if it is law, if it is medicine, if it is sociology, there is the exact cost of funding or of running that particular program. So then government is here buying the services from the universities. The long period of government not meeting its 80%, it made a number of the universities run into bills, and some of them were declared or almost being declared bankrupt, actually insolvent. By the year 2022, 23 universities were technically insolvent. So to sort that issue out, we formulated the fact that one, we need to look at the exact cost of the program, and two, we need to look at the mode of funding. The mode of funding was migrated from funding students at the same level in all programs in the university to fund a student specifically, so that if you are undertaking a Bachelor of Arts degree in sociology and another person is undertaking a Bachelor of Science in biochemistry, the cost of running those two programs will be different, and the funding will then be provided for to the universities to follow the students. Secondly, it was established that in our Kenyan society, we have households that have got different economic or income means. And from the 2020 Kenya National Bureau of Statistics household income, annual incomes banding, we found out that there are 5 bands. The lowest one is at 5,000 and the highest is at 120 and above annually. So we then established that different students in our Kenyan society who get to universities actually come from families that have got different levels of incomes. And then, using that particular information, we were able to argue a case that in the old funding model, students who come from humble backgrounds, students who come from backgrounds that are able, they are funded equally. So in the spirit of equity, in the spirit of inclusivity, we found out that there was discrimination in the previous funding model. The new funding model then will consider a background of the student in terms of ability to pay in order to determine the level of need of funding and the cost of the program. Then, we asked ourselves a question. How does government then do the funding? One, students who are at the bottom of the pyramid, those that are vulnerable, those whose annual income is below 5,000, will have access to a higher proportion of the scholarship and a lower proportion of the loan and the lowest proportion of the household contribution. And the students, and that figure, then that percentage continues to be incremental to those that are in band 5 who are able to fund to a particular degree the level of the loan be able to repay. Then the scholarship is lower and the household contribution is higher for purposes of equity. Now, ever since this model was then introduced, students who get admitted to universities, you are required, you get a letter admitting you to a university, and you are told the cost of the program you have been admitted for is 720,000. You are then advised to apply for funding from the Higher Education Loans Board, and in the application, you are supposed to supply particular information. This information, the family background, the primary school that you attended, then the size of the family, and the rest of other details are then taken on board to construct what is called the means testing instrument. So the means testing instrument is not just a creation that is theoretical. It is practical, because it is the information that is provided for that when it is analyzed, it places you in a particular band to exhibit and demonstrate your level of need for funding. The 2022 KCSE students who were admitted to universities, the new model was applied and it was fully, they were fully satisfied, and it was only in the 2023 KCSE admissions that issues were raised. And I can tell you where the issues were raised. The issues were just in the operationalization of the means testing instrument, because the information that is provided by the applicant, when processed, it then places a student in a band that they feel they don't belong to. That was the major issue. And therefore, it is what I believe the committee that has been established and the probably issues that will be canvassed in the judicial system, that we will need to deal with the means testing instrument, but most importantly, the information that applicants give. And the model is very dynamic in the sense that if you apply during your first year and in the course of your study, either, unfortunately, we don't pray that that happens, you lose a parent, one or both, then every year you are supposed to update the system. And that is how then the model is dynamic. It responds to the changes in the dynamics of the applicants, but also it looks at the economic situation of the applicants. Ever since this new model was introduced, government budget to education and to higher institutions of learning was increased so that many of the universities that were actually being declared insolvent, the vice chancellors of those universities have come out and have said they are
extremely very expensive living conditions. Why do I say so? A person living in a slum or in an informal settlement pays, and this is data that has a record, pays over 100% for the cost of water as compared to a person living in a formal settlement. And of course, the cost of power, sometimes through illegal connections, is also double the actual prices. Meaning, the poor people are paying more for services than the people who are well or who are doing better. And the initiative of affordable housing to realize the development of 200,000 units must have a capital base, and this capital was achieved through the Affordable Housing Fund Act. Remember, there is always a question, why do you want to build the house for me? Why do government has to be involved in building houses and no one leaves? Everyone goes home at the end of the day. But if I say, the only number of houses that has been constructed from the demand of 250 is 50,000 by the private sector. Meaning, over the years, we have been cumulatively not getting 200,000. And as today, we have approximately 1.8 houses that requires to offset the cumulative shortages. The Act, the Affordable Housing Act, provides in its section 2, the purpose of the affordable housing is to develop houses as well as institutional housing. And what is institutional housing? The Act again further defines what institutional houses is. And institutional houses are houses that are for civil servants, police, and student accommodation. And here now comes another big challenge that we have in our country. The student enrollment by 2023 in our universities was 462,000. For TTI, TVCs, the student enrollment is approximately 408,000, meaning almost close to 1 million students we have in our universities. But again, these are some of the challenges that we need now to surmount, because approximately only 10% of the students are accommodated in the universities. And I'll give an example of the University of Nairobi. It has an enrollment of 50,000 students. And the number of students that are there today being accommodated in the school are only 10,000. When I passed through Hall 11, where I used to live when I was in the university in 524, I always check, and I have never seen any other hostel built almost 25 years down the line. And at that time, we were only 15,000. And this complicates the parents and the student together. When we went to get the opinions of the people on the affordable housing law, parents told us, we will support this law if only you help our students get accommodation. We are paying too much money, and this is draining our pockets. And when we took it to Parliament, they accepted, and today we have a plan to build student hostels through this fund. So, as part of our program today, we have over 300 applications from the universities, and we have shortlisted, tried to work out a program for TTI. On our phase 1 of the project, we are starting with 181 TTI, TVCs, and KMTCs spread across the country. And we are also working on 50 universities. All of these, we cumulatively, in this financial year, once we start the projects, because we have put this budget, we are going to start construction of approximately 150 beds for students. And why the interest in student accommodation? Universities worldwide do have exchange programs with foreign universities in order to build the intellect and development of education. Students require an environment that will enable them develop their intellectual capabilities. But a student living in the slum, Babati structure, struggles to feed. I've heard you say Kuinama. Luckily enough, today I've learned Kuinama. It's just to bed to get to the lunch pass. Am I right? So, if the students are taken back to the university, they will save, or the parents will save that money, and the student will have some money to take care of his personal needs, his or her personal needs. So, for the program to be sustainable, the universities will have to pay back to the Affordable Housing Fund the amount of money that was used to construct, but over a long period of time. Meaning, when it is spread to that years, the student will be paying an affordable amount, which will be decided by the university and yourself, your student leaders. You know what will be affordable for you. That decision will be made by yourselves. And limit that money. Once the money is limited back, it creates a sustainable fund that will keep on developing more affordable hostels until this shortage is overcome. That is not the only part that the affordable housing is dealing with. The affordable housing also deals with social and physical infra. So once we go to build the student hostel, we are not going to build only the hostel. It will be accompanied by other social facilities, such as playgrounds, social hall like where we are. And this will also enable the students to develop further. When you go to housing, similarly the same. Adequate housing does not mean only a house. It means houses with other facilities, including play areas, markets, shopping center, so that we make our cities sustainable. And our cities, we have people to celebrate what we call celebrating cities, or what we call live, play, and work places. That is the ideal situation of the affordable housing, and we are making it a reality because today we have over 124 houses going on under construction. By close of the year, we'll start handing over these houses. In Nairobi, we'll be handing over By December, we'll be having over 1,000 units in Mukulu. Here in Eldoret, we have over 5,000 houses ongoing. We'll be handing over. We are pushing the contractor to finish a project of 220 units here in Eldoret. We expected it to be complete by December. So it is a reality. Herein now lies the other benefit that comes together with affordable housing program. The construction industry has a very long value chain. It's not only building. It pushes factories to produce steel. And when factories have demand for steel, they have to increase their capacity to produce, and they have to create more people for employment. And it goes on and on. Doors, windows, hedges, all the components and elements that go to a building is quite enormous. And beyond that, we are working with the TVETs and other institutions to give students practical experiences when they are learning, particularly those who are in the built environment. And we give them internships. We are learning a program of 4,000 internships to students every year. And that is our intention. And when students want to go for practical lessons, we take them to our sites. And this is a program we are working with the universities, with your lecturers, and with the ministry responsible for higher education. Let me go to another point. And this point is how you can access the houses, because we are just about to hand over. The program further has a platform called Boma Yangu. The Boma Yangu platform is to minimize to the very minimal human interaction with people who, or with citizens who want to buy a house. You only need to be 18 years and you have an ID. You take your phone, star 832#, and you start your home ownership journey. You'll be required a 10% deposit, and if you cannot be able to raise the 10% deposit, we have the housing board which can be able to facilitate you get a loan to get your 10% deposit. We have various typologies, fit to the pocket, from people who earn below 50,000 Kenya shillings. They have a house below 1 million across the country. It doesn't matter where you are. The house, you can get it by long-term loans, by cash, or by various installments. The long-term loan is called tenant purchase scheme. The TPS will enable you to pay around 3,200 every month, and the house becomes yours. It also has houses for middle class. The middle class earning 100,000, and for the higher income earning over 100,000. This is because the levy of 1.5% to the income of the citizens, or their salaries, and the income, or 1.5% from the employer, spreads across all incomes. So basically, for equitable, we have to spread it to every citizen, have an equal chance of getting this house. And for the young people, immediately you finish your school, you get a job, start saving. You can encourage your parents. Maybe you are living here, maybe you don't have an opportunity to get a hostel in the school. If you don't, you can encourage your parents to pay into the affordable housing scheme, and you can move into that house immediately. You have saved enough to join the house. You select your unit where you want it through the online platform I have mentioned. And you can live in that house as you are a student and paying monthly installments. The lucky thing, maybe after your school, or maybe you are working here and you have been transferred maybe to Nairobi, you don't know where to take your house. That has always been the question in many people's mind. Now, I've gotten a house. I want to go to Nakuru or to go to Nairobi. Don't worry. You plan your journey to Nairobi, find an equivalent house of the same price, select the house in Eldoret, and take the new house in Nairobi, wherever you are, or wherever you want to go. Meaning, in simpler terms, it's like you are putting your house into a low loader. You transport it through Nakuru to Nairobi. It's possible. Then, you started as a young family. You are single. Now, you have gone loud and loud. You've gotten a nice boy, young man. You have children. You have more money again because you are also growing. Because life is just about growth. You don't want to be the same static level. So how do I deal with this house? Now that I have a single room, it has a toilet, yes, it has water, but come on. Now I have a family. I don't want my child to be seeing me and my wife where we are living. And I have money. I want to enlarge my house. So this now becomes more easier because again, you get a more expensive house. Wherever you want to change the estate, you identify another house. The amount of money you have paid will be deposited to the new house. You surrender the other house, and then you move to the other better house. And that is the essence of the affordable housing program. It is real. That's what has been happening in other countries. People don't care about buying plots. And once you finish your house, we have the Sectional Property Act, which was enacted sometimes years back, and enables people to own a part of the building, and you'll be issued with a title once you finish payment. If you don't want to take the 30 years period, you can pay as and when you have the money, but you take a longer period so that you can, if things go bad, you can be able to pay incrementally. So let me stop there.
Thank you.
And hope that I have answered most of the questions that you'd want. We have one point this point is good, I should not have forgotten. The program is also working towards moving the Juakali sector. Not from Juakali, we cannot stay in Juakali all the years. We have set aside some of these elements in the affordable housing program or in the construction industry. All of them have set and link-fenced in the current project that we are having, 4.4 billion worth of elements that the Juakali people can supply directly to the affordable housing. It's no longer that you'll be making one door, two doors. We are working with the Juakali sector, with the banks. We work together. They get tenders directly to supply doors. And we have cases where Juakali people have supplied doors and windows worth 100 million. People who just used to work only 10,000, 20,000 on a day or a month, but now they have sustainable supply of door and windows. And we have put them all the Juakali together, and we are working with the ministry in charge of micro and small enterprises in order to ensure that this work is directly given to the Juakali and micro small enterprises so that they can move to cottage industries. Let me say, most of the products that we find here, like tiles, like hedges, some of them are imported, and it's a pity for a country of 50 million people, which is moving to be developed, it is importing hedges. And we are importing them in India and China. In India, they are normally made by cottage industry. They are made from the house, packed in trolleys and brought here. We are not going to no longer be the market, or we create jobs for other people outside the country. We will create our jobs locally here, and that is what our president wants, and I believe that is what you in class you want to do once you leave the school. Thank you.
Thank you. Please clap for James Maina. For those who might actually have missed the gist of his last submission, he said that the affordable housing project is about three things. Thing one, jobs. Thing two, jobs. Thing three, jobs. Now, moving on quickly, we have got Joshua Rapsang with us here. He's from the Office of the Government Spokesperson. So quickly, because we're going to the top of the hour, I'd love to remind you that the people you are talking to largely, except the SG who is here and the treasurer and a few other people here, most of these guys are Gen Zs. Now, Gen Zs are natives, digital natives. They were born in. Unlike you and I, who are millennials, and we grew through the revolution, these ones are digital natives. So, I'd like you to start from this point. Number one, this digital economy, what the government is doing about it. And number two, as you finish on your submission in a minute or three, also tell us what the government spokesperson does, the Office of the Government Spokesperson does. Some of them are very good spokespersons here. Na mara mingi huwa wanatulazimisha wanataka microphone waongee kwa bidii sana. We would love to have such like government spokesmen in future. So just quickly, and then so that then we run without a little bit of interruptions. After you are done, I'll bring in Professor Machuki, please. In just 3 minutes, you talk about SHIF and SHA, and then we will go and pick questions. Doris, you will prepare to tell us about the issues you want as a young woman in leadership. What are the areas you want to be helped in to help your leadership journey? Director Faith Nora, you tell us about how to access Youth Fund. I'm talking about as you respond to questions, have that at the back end. Then we will come back, of course, to James Maina later on, responding to your questions. So once he's done, Professor Machuki, and then we pick questions. I've taken time to remind you that way, and I need to tell you this. I tell audiences every time that when Professor Machuki spoke about funding, it's about you paying fees, right? Si unajua kulipa karo? Hello? Si unajua kulipa karo? So if you don't pay attention, even if you pay fees, you don't pass your exams. I say that because we are going to open up this session and you will be asking questions. If you don't pay attention, you will be asking questions that they've responded to. So write your question, think through, listen, and prepare so that then you don't go back to what they've already spoken. Karibu Joshua. And then the other microphones can start. We can have ushers prepping and being ready.
Thank you very much, Maliba. Comrade Power. Thank you so much for hosting us here. I'm happy to see the young people in this hall. Thank you, SG, and Treasurer for bringing them here. As you have heard, my name is Joshua Rapsang. I'm the Director of Public Communication at the Office of the Government Spokesperson, which is in the Office of the Executive, which is in the Executive Office of the President. So, our government is so mindful about the youth of this country. As Maliba said, yes, we are all gone into digital
way. As I can see, I've been seeing here when we were singing and the rest, everybody was on phone, at least taking something. I don't know if it is TikTok and the rest. That means a lot that we are on that digital way. The government is doing a lot in that line. Every constituency, as we talk, around 274, almost all, but now 274 already have digital hubs. These are places where youths, Gen Zs, students, even people who are just at home and you wish to do something online, you just visit that center, do your work there. There is free internet, there are computers there, do your job, go home, and like now in issues of health, as somebody will talk about it, you can go to some of those places and register, because these are in our constituencies and they are for us. Jitume hubs and Ajira centers, which are mostly now domiciled in most of the colleges in Kenya. As an Office of Government spokesperson, we have been visiting most of them. We were in Harvest in March, and I can assure you, your colleagues are earning a lot of money working online while studying. People are earning dollars. Some of them have said they have even paid their rent. They are not now requiring money from their parents. Somebody is saying how? Just go to Jitume Center, they are there. Free computers, free internet. What you need to go, just get there and register yourself. Surely you will get the online jobs. You have seen our president traversing the whole world, trying to get jobs for you people. Some of those jobs are online jobs. And I can assure you, yes, I saw a guy who says he has started even poultry farm at home, still studying, but he has a poultry farm coming from the earnings from Jitume Center at Harvest. Another one has treated the mother who has been very sick. The father could not afford, but because of that money she has been earning, she has been able to do it. So there are many things that are happening on the issue of digital. The government, through the digital highway, super highway, and creative economy, has introduced that. And they are in our colleges, they are in our constituencies, as I have said, the digital hubs. It's up to you to go there and work. Most of us would wish to go abroad, which is very good, to work. But you know, some of those works are here. How does it feel that you wake up from your bed in your house, go get into your computer, do your job, get your earnings into your phone, and you are still in your area? Haujashughulika na mambo sijui ya passport, sijui mambo ya ndege kupanda, umeimalizia yote kwako. You get your money at home. Is that not good enough? So those ones are there. What we need to do is just to appeal to your leaders, especially the MPs, because digital hubs are supposed to be in every constituency in Kenya. Appeal to them. And the president has said they get a house for the hub. The government will supply computers and internet. So digital is the way. As in the Office of Government spokesperson, our main job is to highlight what the government is doing. We go to a place, look at what the government is doing, we tell you, we amplify what the government is doing. We listen to you. What you are saying, we also tell it to the government, and things will work. So for us, that is the main thing we do. We have had so many of you. You have given your cries, especially issues like the new education model, funding model. The president is listening. The government is listening. This is a listening government. Since that time of Gen Z's, you woke us up, and I believe you have seen a lot of changes. The government is listening. Yeah, we are listening, continue speaking respectfully, and we will listen and act, because we are all Kenyans. Some of you are our children. I think, yeah, they are, because I have somebody 22 years, should be here. Yeah. So you are here, we listen to you. We just talk respectfully to all of us, we listen. And I'm happy that this thing has come through the party, UDA, the Comrade chapter, bringing you all together across the country for us to tell you what the government is doing. So the Office of Government Spokesperson is open, as is to say what the government is doing. If just to let you and differentiate for you to understand, we have State House spokesperson. That one is talking issues president. We talk issues government. That is the two offices. Because wasikia wengine wanasema kwa nini ofisi mbili? Si huyu anatosha, atoshi kwa sababu ule ni mambo ya president na shughuli zake, anaenda wapi, anafanya nini? Sisi ni ya serikali. So kama kuna kitu unaona mahali, tell us. We will come and we will tell the officers in government that are responsible that this one is happening. Wakenya wanataka hivi na watafanya. Let me stop there because of time. We will continue answering more questions. Thanks, Maliba.
Thank you very much. He spoke about two offices of communication, the spokesperson at the State House, and then of course government spokesperson. He forgot one very important spokesperson, and that is the Secretary General of the United Democratic Alliance. He is in charge of all matters politics. He speaks everything politics. So, hiyo usisahau Arab sang ama tutakuita ingine. Anyway, having said that, Professor Machuki, you will have a lot of time when they ask questions. Just go through Chief briefly, and then Nora, I'll give you 2 minutes so that I allow the comrades to speak. I'll give you 2 minutes to talk about how to access youth fund. Then we open up the floor. So kama uko na swali, anza kufikiria. Ashas, you can move around. I'll be coming down there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Allow me to expand my comment so that I preempt a number of issues. One, I would briefly talk about the government's transformation through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. Number two, I am in the agricultural zone, so I want to delve into dealing with one of the pillars of the plan, that is agriculture. Then I will finish with that pillar, the universal health coverage. Allow me to say this, that the current administration is the first one after the KANU regime that is managing the economy using its manifesto as an economic blueprint. Some other previous governments, they come up with a manifesto, then they develop a policy document for the management of the economy. The Kenya Kwanza administration has its manifesto, that is the government policy, and it is the plan that the government is using to manage the economy. Why bottom-up economic transformation agenda? The strategic intent of His Excellency the President anchors the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. What is the intent? The President intends to entrench the implementation of the Constitution. The second intent is to institutionalize politics, moving from personal-based, tribal-based economic politics to issue-based politics. You can attest that ever since the Kenya Kwanza administration took over, it is now conversation about the cost of living. It is conversation about the new funding model. It is conversation around health and the universal health coverage. It is conversation about taxes and the politics of governance. It is a transformation that was intended and that is at the core. The last principle that anchors the intent of His Excellency the President is democratization of the economy. All of us have witnessed the dominance of those who are the capital owners in the management of the economy. The economy has been brought to the masses at the bottom of the pyramid through programs that promote the micro, small, and medium enterprises, decriminalizing business, and therefore giving everybody a chance to play in the economic growth of this country. I thought that if you access the better plan, you will be able to see those key principles that are elucidated in the President's opening remark in that plan. Entrenching the Constitution, implementation of the Constitution, democratization of the economy, and institutionalization of politics. In that plan, therefore, analysis found out that there are key issues that are of concern to the economy, and they became the priority areas that this government intends to deal with through the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. 1, lowering the cost of living. Number 2, ending unemployment. And that is where now the youth come in. Number 3, dealing with the foreign exchange imbalance. And that is where in agriculture I will be talking about reducing imports, increasing exports, and there is an aspect of labor migration to enable the diaspora remit more for the economic development of the country. Number 4 is about enhancing or broadening the revenue base. You will realize that when men are brought into the fold to play actively in the economic growth and in the economic activities, then you broaden the revenue base so that government gets resources to fund its programs. And that is why there was a response to the call that many people were held captive in the most famous predatory lenders, those digital lenders that will give you some credit, you fail to pay, they blacklist you, you are cajoled into an economic purgatory where you do not have any other way that you can access credit. And number 5, inclusive growth. So bottom up means that everybody at the bottom of the economic pyramid is brought into the fold. That is where equity comes in. We have talked about education. We have talked about health. We will talk about health, that everybody must be brought into the fold, leaving no one behind. Those are the principles. And for the turnaround, the quick turnaround in addressing the cost of living, in looking at unemployment, in looking at revenue-based expansion, and so forth, 5 pillars form the core towards dealing with those issues. The first one is agricultural transformation. The second one is micro, small, and medium enterprise development. The third is affordable housing. The fourth is digital, super, highway, and the creative economy. And the fifth is universal health coverage. No wonder those 5 form the focus of the president. But we realized that they need to be enabled. So if you go through the plan, you will find manufacturing, you will find ICT, you will find education, you will find governance, and you will find climate change issues there and all that. So in a capstone, you have this plan that forms the basis for policy development and the policy processing. So at the Council of Economic Advisors, we process policy because this particular plan was developed within the context of a perfect storm. The global development in the Ukraine, the COVID-19 pandemic, the geopolitics, and all technological, political, economic developments, the interest rates issues in the US and all other places made it so compulsory and imperative that we have to change the way of managing the economy. I thought it was important that as comrades, you also know that government is run on a policy document, but for that very broad plan to be operationalized, we now process particular policies, we come up with legislation, we come up with institutional arrangements to enable the implementation of that plan. And let me tell you, because it is transformative, it is change-oriented, there is a paradigm shift in the way things are done. And within any context where you introduce change, where you become transformative, where the transformation is so fundamental, you don't fail to face resistance. And this resistance that is coming is actually giving ideas. The resistance could be because of lack of information. The resistance could be because of political inclinations and so forth and so on. So I thought that I needed to put that into perspective. Now, one of the pillars in the plan is universal health coverage. Historically, it has been analyzed that in Kenya, for us to have a robust economic growth, we need to have a health nation. And for those of us who have been wondering, and the conversation and the moderator that you asked, SHA, SHIV, and all that, let me point it out this way. Our Constitution, 2010, provided that the government has to provide health to its citizens. It is one of those fundamental rights. And the same Constitution devolved the healthcare system in Kenya. And for a long time, there has been an issue to do with financing. Government has been spending and spent up to 550 billion Kenya shillings. That constitutes 63% in healthcare financing. There is another 20% by the households, and another 10% that is contributed by household but through insurance schemes. So annually, a household spends close to around 150 billion from our pockets and so forth and so on. This is a heavy burden. So the universal health coverage comes in to deal with three things. One, access to quality healthcare services. Number two, to ensure that everybody accesses the same quality care. Everybody is what is meant by universal. And when we analyzed, we found out that the issue about financing and the issue about access were major concern. So how did universal health coverage deal with that? For those of you who listened to the president's speech yesterday, he highlighted three things: promotive, preventive, and curative care. At the very beginning, the government intended to ensure that the quality care should start at the community. And at the very community level, government launched the community health promoters, 100,000 of them, kitted them, and then ensured that they go to the households, they take parameters, and they are able to actually treat some conditions that are preventable at household level. To ensure that there is access to health care that the community health promoters are not able to handle, the conditions are then referred to the nearest health facilities at level 1, level 2, and level 3. At this level, we have to deal with two things. One, the medicines, the medical products. Number two, the facilities. And number three, the human resource. In these facilities, or at this level, government takes care of the medical services that are being offered there. Now, how is it made possible? Government, through Parliament, passed a law